Thanks, Jeff. Thank you very much. Thanks for the opportunity, I guess. I'm not sure I want to call it an opportunity. We came here to watch our sons and have a good time, and the next thing we know, we're trying to write something this morning at 5 o'clock in the morning that we've never done before. So what we're doing is how to have a 32-year honeymoon, and the reason is because we've been married for 32 years. Now, how many people here have ever been married, you are married now, you plan to be married, or you know somebody who's married? Okay? Okay, it's obvious that this talk is for everybody here then. Okay? So good. Did you know that the happiest people in the world are married? Did you also know that the unhappiest people in the world are married? And they're not the same people, by the way. They're different people. So from that, you could deduct that if you don't want to be in that group known as the unhappiest people in the world, then don't get married. You could also deduct that if you want to be in that group known as the happiest people in the world, then you're going to have to risk marriage to do it. Now, first of all, I know there's some people out there that aren't married that are very, very happy. And I also know that there's some people out there that aren't married that are very, very miserable. Okay, but generally, married people are the happiest or least happiest people in the world. So the stakes are very, very high. In fact, sadly, 50% of all marriages in America end in divorce. And so it seems like we often define a good marriage as a marriage that doesn't end in divorce. And I would suggest that defining a marriage as a good marriage if it doesn't end in divorce is ludicrous. In fact, as ludicrous as defining a good meal in one that doesn't end in throwing up. And so, what I want to do today with my wonderful wife of 32 years today is we're going to share some things with you. We do premarital counseling at a church, and so our premarital counseling is Christian premarital counseling. But we found out one thing over all the years that's present in every good marriage that's ever taken place. And interestingly enough, this one thing is absent in every marriage which is not good. Now you might think, oh, this guy talking about Christian marriage, he's going to talk about faith. Well, here's what the truth is. The truth is, this one thing transcends faith. It has nothing to do with faith. In fact, you can be agnostic or you can be an atheist that still applies to everybody. That's how important this one thing is. Now, it's really, I always hate it when people tell me there's one thing that's the key to world peace and here's what it is. And so I'm always suspect, as you might be. But as you go through here, when we're done, I think you'll agree that there's one thing. And here's the one thing that's present in all marriages that are great marriages, and that is fun. Fun. In fact, it is the litmus test for all marriages and all relationships that are great relationships. We found this out time and time again. Think of the people you know, your parents, friends, or yourself. And if you define their marriage as one which you think is great, you will always say they have fun together. And if you define their marriage as one that is not great, and maybe it's not good at all, the fun is completely absent in that relationship. And so what we're going to do today is give you a few ideas of how to have fun in a marriage. But first of all, if I'm going to talk about having fun, we have to have fun. I have 20 seconds to do this. You need to help me. Everybody stand up. Really quick. Come on. Okay, what I want you to do is going to wake you up and get you going. We're going to have some fun. I want you to start clapping, okay? Slowly. Faster. Okay, now sit down. Now, this really isn't really that much fun. It was really what's called as group manipulation, okay? And the reason I did this is because when we go home, we're going to have our friends and family say, how'd you guys do? And what I'm going to tell them is there was 14 speakers, 12 different subjects. We're the only one who got a standing ovation in the middle of our speech. So thank you very much for indulging me on that. And what we're going to talk about right now is we're going to give you 5 ways to have fun in your relationship, things that I think you can all do. And Angie's going to start.
Well, about 16 years ago, I had the joy of having a wonderful woman mentor me. And one of the very special things, whenever I'd go over to her house, she would immediately drop whatever she was doing. She and her husband would jump up, and it was Gloria and Ronaldo, and they would say, "Angelita, we're so happy to see you." And they'd give me a big hug and a warm welcome. And I thought, it feels so good to stop by their house. And I thought, that's something I want to bring home. That's something I want everyone who comes through my door to feel, and especially my husband. So I intentionally started that whenever Ed would come in, I would always, stop what I was doing, whether it was making dinner or on my computer. I'd pop up and I would acknowledge him and welcome him home in a really fun, happy way. You know what? Too often women get the nag tag where the men will say, I don't even look forward to going home. She's just going to gripe about I didn't take the trash out again. And, it's just no fun walking through that door. So again, I intentionally made my mind up that I was going to make sure that when my husband came through the door, he was going to hear something positive, something affirmative, something that was maybe a compliment or a thank you for something nice that he had done. And that's the direction that I took with things. Now, home should also be a safe haven. It should be a place where you can share your dreams and your aspirations and, you had changed it, huh? Sorry. Dreams and aspirations and kind of really think about things that are safe at home where you may not feel comfortable sharing it with other people. Well, you have to, again, go about intentionally setting this up. So Ed and I will come up with questions for one another, like, if you were to win $100 million, how would you spend your time? Not your money, but your time. Or what's your biggest regret in life? What might you like to go back and do over again if you could? Or if you could travel anywhere in the world, where would you want to go? Those are the types of things that you can intentionally bring into the conversation. And if you want romance, set the atmosphere for romance too. Guys, if you want to have romance in the bedroom, suggest to your wife that she go take a nice bubble bath while you do the dishes and put the kids to bed. I assure you, there will be romance in that bedroom tonight.
Now you can see why I love her so much. It's been a honeymoon for 32 years. The next thing we want to talk about is king or queen for a day. This is something that we've been doing for many, many years, and it's a great thing for both the guys and the gals. First of all, every Friday is my day. Tomorrow, I'm king for a day, okay? That means that when I get up in the morning, Angie usually starts off the day with about a 20-minute head massage, back massage, foot massage. It's just awesome. And even sometimes at the end of that, there's a physical treat sometime. So, but the point of it is that it continues throughout the day, okay? Which means that she will, we always eat our meals out as our boys are grown and gone. So I get to pick the restaurant, okay? Or if I'm going to pick the restaurant, we need to bring it home, then she'll go get it and bring it home. If I need an errand run, she'll go do that for me. She oftentimes leaves me little notes and little sayings or little text messages to me if I'm in meetings and things like that. She makes that day special from start to finish. That's my king for a day. It's a great thing to do, and it's really hard not to have fun in your relationship when you commit one whole day to just having just a ton of fun in your relationship. Well, the next day then is, of course, Saturday, and that's her day, okay? And I will do the same thing, start off with a massage. I always try to get her car washed that day and gassed and ready for her and do little things for her. She gets to pick the restaurant, so on and so forth. This king for the day has enhanced our relationship so much. I strongly suggest that everybody here that's in a relationship go home and talk to your partner and pick the day to day. Don't wait to do it. It will change your life. It'll put fun in your relationship.
A number of years ago, we were at lunch with a bunch of coworkers, and it happened to be a lot of husbands and wives. So we started talking about how often our spouse says that they love us. Well, I am very blessed in that my husband never leaves a room practically without saying, "Love you, honey buns." And so, or sweet pea is what he often calls me too. And so, at any rate, as we went through the table, we got around to Patty and Howard. And Patty looked at Howard and said, "Howard, you never tell me you love me." And he said, "Patty, I told you I loved you before we got married, and if I change my mind, I'll let you know." Well, like you guys, we all kind of laughed. Patty didn't. That hurt. It stung. And that's something that I think we need to be careful not to take for granted, is telling our spouse how much we love them. And you can do it in a lot of fun and creative ways. We've come up with all sorts of little cards, little sticky notes we'll put places on the computer, in the car, that type of thing. But probably one of my favorites is when I'm doing a speaking presentation like this, I'll often have my phone on the podium to time myself, and all of a sudden there'll be a little text message that pops up, and it'll say something like, "You look hot." Well, that makes me smile and makes me feel more relaxed talking. So, just fun little things like that. A number of years ago, I remember somebody sharing that they were going to make a Letterman-style top 10 list of 10 things I love about you. And so I thought I could do that. And so I did a list of 100 things that I loved about Ed. And it was amazing how much that touched him. If you're having trouble coming up with ideas of how you can share with your spouse that you love them, ask them to complete the sentence, "I feel most loved when," and then act on that.
The next thing is become a 5-year-old again. Now, we need to recapture our childhood time and time again in marriage and relationships. If we don't, there's no fun in it. And that's the easiest thing we can do and the most fun thing. When a 5-year-old wakes up, just think back a few years ago when you're 5, and the only thing you think about that day is how to have fun, right? What do we do as adults when we wake up? All we do is worry about all the things that we have to worry about. We worry about things that we have no control over. In fact, we worry about things that never come to pass. One of my favorite sayings is Mark Twain, who said, "I suffered a great many catastrophes in my life, most of which never happened." So I strongly suggest that you go back to 5 years old when you wake up, stop worrying about things you can't control, and think of how you can put some fun in your day, in your spouse's day, that day. And if you do, you will be blessed by it many, many times over in your relationship. So strongly get back to that 5-year-old age and have some fun.
You can't always dwell in what we call the sweet spot. Sometimes things just aren't going quite right between the two of you, and it gets a little tense. Well, Ed and I tend to be very competitive and overachievers, which then leads to a lot of criticism and wanting to win. And so the competition there. So, we've kind of found that when you're not in the sweet spot, you might feel like, he'd say something nice to me like, "You look nice today." And instead of taking it the right way, I'd say, "What, I didn't look nice yesterday?" And so you've got to get in the place where you move back into that sweet spot. But again, you have to choose to do it and do some things that will help get you there. So we've made some games out of this. First of all, we have a game that the first one to say they're sorry wins. So you actually win by losing. And being competitive in nature, that works for us. Another thing that we've come up with is, I used to be one that could, sulk about something for days. If I was not happy, I gave him the silent treatment, and he knew it very loud for days by me being quiet. Well, that just doesn't work in a relationship. So it's important to get back on track quickly. Now we've got a little rule and game in our household that you can't be mad for more than 10 minutes. Now you can go into the room and say, "I'm going to be mad at you now for 5 minutes." Leave the room and come back in 5 minutes and go, "Okay, the time's over." And you know what? Just in that playful way, you let the person know, "Okay, I was irritated about what went on there," but you let it move forward and you don't get stuck in that place and spiral negatively in the wrong direction. The other thing that I do is I'll draw on that 100 things I love about you. When I'm frustrated with Ed, all I need to do is pull out that list and start reviewing it, and it softens my heart, and I immediately remember and focus on the things that I love most about him, not whatever little thing might be irritating him at that time. Bottom line, one of the definitions for love in the dictionary is no score in tennis, and we shouldn't keep score in our relationship. You need to go about giving 100% to the relationship every day and find fun ways to do that. Let me bring Ed up to kind of finish up on.
I want to finish with a story. And the story is a true story about a couple that I will call Tom and Jeannie, because that's their name. And a couple that we did in premarital counseling, but we actually did their premarital counseling just after they got married. They called us and we couldn't schedule it before they got married. And so we did it a couple months after. And in this, we typically meet for 6 different sessions, about 2 hours a time, just Angie and myself and the two of them. This was on the second week when we always talk about fun. We could clearly see that in their relationship, they were having absolutely no fun. In fact, he had 2 jobs, she had a job, they were stressed out over finances, as couples often are, and many other things. But no question they loved each other immensely. but they had no fun in their relationship, absolutely none. And typically when we work with premarital couples, we're working with kind of couples that are in this blissful state and they're having all kinds of fun. But this couple had already reached at 2 months the point of no fun. And so we had to be a little bit creative and get them back on track. And so I didn't know exactly what to say, but I looked at him, I said, I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you a homework assignment. In addition to all the homework you have for next week, I'm going to give you one more. And kind of just thinking what it's going to be, I didn't know what it was going to be. I finally said, you need to go home and have a pillow fight. Go home and have a pillow fight, the two of you. When you come back next week, we're going to ask how the pillow fight went. So the next week, Tom and Jeannie came back. They sat down. And the first thing we always ask our couples when they sit down is, what was your week like? Now, we never need to hear the words because their body language always tells it all, good or bad. And what Tom went on to talk about was that how the pillow fight was so awkward to start with, that they did it and it was awkward, but they kept it going. And after a few minutes, as the pillow started to be thrown around, the feathers started to fly, it actually got pretty fun. And then it went on, and they had a blast. Actually had a blast with this. As I looked over at Jeannie, there's a little tear coming down her eye. And she said it was the first time we've had fun in months. It felt so good. And then the story even gets better. They ended up on the floor making love together, and they said they hadn't even done that in a while. Only married 2 months. Now, this couple put fun back in their relationship, and it turned their relationship around. It was missing the one thing that it needed. It had everything else. Now, for some of you, you might have a relationship, a marriage that you're kind of stuck in a terrible situation right now. You're stuck in misery, and you don't know where to start. Well, here's what I say. Take the first step. Act your way into a feeling. You may not feel it yet. They didn't feel it when they had that pillow fight, when they started. But before they were finished, they felt it. So take that challenge to act your way into a feeling. Because see, a good marriage is just not about a good marriage. It affects generations to come. That's how important it is. So our time is up, and I just want to say, if you don't mind, I'm going to kind of get back to my honeymoon with my great wife. Thank you.